Hey, this is Glendon, and this is different. This is a video in response to a question. I have a lot of questions. I'm a little bit behind, but I felt that it was something worthy of doing a video. And essentially, it's developing an eye for value. I had to think about it because the comment came in last week, and I was like, And I had to do a little research because as I do this hustler mindset project, I'm learning a lot about myself because often when you ask a person, "Hey, how did you become really good at X, Y, and Z?" sometimes they don't know because they never really thought about it. And I started thinking about it, and it's amazing how certain things just come to be because right now I'm listening to Drive by Daniel Pink, and there was this one section where these companies were hiring people who were artists because they had a greater eye for detail and they noticed things that other people really didn't know. And I was like, boom, there it is. But I'll get to that later. But essentially, it's just a few simple things that I did, and hopefully this will help you because it's not rocket science, but there's a certain grooming technique to it. Now, this is my story. If you didn't know, lifelong artist, thousands and thousands of sketches, and a few years of art school. When I was a kid, I would draw literally all day. Superheroes, dinosaurs. Actually, I got in trouble. I don't know if you remember the television show Wonder Woman. Well, I drew Wonder Woman, but she didn't have any clothes on. And my little brother decided that he would leave that drawing on my mother's car. It was neatly folded and tucked into the hood. Yeah, that's what siblings do to you. But my mother just kind of looked at me and just said, "Put some clothes on her." And she gave it to me, and that was the end of that. But I didn't know that the process of just drawing stuff and it was fun. I didn't really think of the other benefits that would come from the pastime because when you draw, and one of the big things that used to give me big problems were hands and eyes. A lot of details, how the hand is oriented. If you put the whole picture together, proportions and stuff. So you're really building a lot of spatial ability, which you know this stuff. And part of this noticing things is you notice when something's out of whack or it doesn't add up or it doesn't make sense. That's why I was able to look at a unit and kind of start putting things together. I didn't know how I got this skill. I just like, hey, I like buying storage units. But doing the research and reading up on it, that's how I got that skill. Now, you don't have to be an artist to get this skill, but you do have to practice. And the first place to start practicing is on what you like. And I have these posters here for a reason because I found them in a unit. And they were in pristine condition. And I sold them to a collector for $600. And it also kind of explains some other stuff because these are from the 50s. And women weren't really built like that in the 50s. So I think this is the reason that the plastic surgery thing just kind of started to really grow in popularity in the 60s, and it just went crazy from there. But when you are dealing with stuff that you like, believe it or not, you already have a lot of knowledge about that subject. You just don't really think of it in terms of making money. You think of if you're part of an organization or you're part of a club, you just volunteer your time and give your effort. But there were people who would pay for that knowledge. So start there. Whatever you do, like say you like motorcycles, you may know a lot about motorcycle parts. There's so many things out there that you can make money on. It's ridiculous, but it all starts with what do you know? What does the marketplace want? Now, this is how I use my esoteric knowledge to make money after the storage auction game. Years and years and years of being on the storage auction trail, I knew exactly what would happen to a newcomer coming out. I was like, because I used to do it. We would tease them, we would do. So I had a lot of knowledge. And essentially, I was not the only one with that knowledge. Everyone that was a seasoned storage auction buyer had the same knowledge. So understand, Do not get yourself twisted because, everyone has this knowledge. They may have it, but if they don't know how to apply it or they don't apply it, it's the same as not having it. Because the thing is, I know here in town probably 300-400 people that were like regulars at storage auctions. Then, newcomers come every month. But those 300 to 400 people had the same knowledge that I did in terms of what happened to newbies. They had the same knowledge that I did in terms of how to buy a unit. Only parts that we started to split was with the building of the distribution system and the channels. But they could have wrote a book easily, and it would have been good information. But they didn't use their esoteric knowledge for gain. They didn't. And this is another thing, and this is the thing that paralyzes people. It just is crippling. I might fail. It's true, you might fail. It happens. Don't worry about it. That's why if you have what's called controlled failure, you start small, some things don't go well, and you're dealing with $10, $15, $20 items, and you lose $15, $20. That's not the end of the world. You have to get started. You have to move forward. This is the non-sexy part of this. The more you buy, the more that you will have to research. In some regards, what I looked upon as a burden, as a huge, huge problem, was one of the best benefits of my life. Buy a unit, and anywhere from 2 to a few hundred things would have to be researched. And you just couldn't do one cursory research, like go to eBay and look at the completed items. No, that's not enough. You have to go in and check the weight and the value of the completed items. Why did this guy get 250? Why did this person only get 130? There's a lot of stuff that goes in there, but for everything that we researched, we learned about 4 to 10 more different things. So the more that you do, the more that you're going to learn. The faster you do it, the more that you're going to learn. But to help you and not drive you crazy, pick one thing and learn as much as you can about it. And I'm going to go Earl Nightingale on you. In the Lead the Field series, he talks about real estate agents, and he said a lot of real estate agents, and this was a long time ago, really didn't know a lot about their field. And when I bought my house, I knew exactly what he was talking about. The really seasoned super real estate agent, they know about the schools, they know about the highway, they know about taxes, they know about, there's so many things that they know that can help you, that can impact the savvy buyer. Is ridiculous. So to give you an example, if you learned everything you could about iPhones, first one, which will get you about $16 to $20, up to the current one, which will get you around $700, and focused on nothing else. Because most people who have an iPhone are only using maybe 10% of its capacity. So if you learn everything about the models, the capacity, what it can, what it can't do, apps and everything, and value, and just went on Craigslist every day, 4 to 6 iPhones a week. Now, you may have to meet 30 to 50 people. I know it's going to sound crazy, but you may have to meet them. But 4 to 6 really good iPhones a week could probably net you out at $600,000, depending on, net $600 to $1,000 every week. But you would probably be working 20, 30 hours a week until you became really good and set up a funnel system where people would find you. But if you just focused on that one thing, and the thing is, that's your main focus. It doesn't mean you can't do anything else. And then you kind of had like a secondary focus and a third focus, but that was your main thing, where everything else was kind of circling around that. So a good companion item would be MacBooks, Airs, iMacs, the whole Mac family. But just focusing on one thing. And what did I say in the videos? I focused on office furniture, then I focused on residential furniture. Because the thing is, if you can move office furniture, you can move any furniture, because that stuff's heavy. And by focusing on that, because that's some esoteric knowledge I had, it was enabled me and my partner to make a lot of money while we were still learning the rest of the storage auction business, if that makes any sense. So you can get you one main driver while you're building up your knowledge based on this other stuff, because you're going to have to research and learn and just become a data junkie. Because I'm going to talk about this in the end, but people want push the button cookie cutter solution. It's not going to work, because conditions are changing faster than they ever did before. So you're going to need your online references, and believe it or not, there's a lot of stuff that's not online. You'll actually need books, or you wouldn't actually have to go to the library to learn about some things. It's a trip, I know, but it's true. This is another way for you to recognize value. What's trending? What's hot? I was looking at that little burnt up worm, Lil Wayne, and he had on a Bape belt buckle. This was years and years ago, and I was like, and just something just said, because it was on the cover of a magazine. I was like, does that say rape? No, I mean, seriously. And then I looked it up, and it was like Bape, bathing ape. It was this brand out of Japan. I was like, oh, okay. And I learned about it, and this guy was selling T-shirts for hundreds of dollars. And this is what? So I started looking for bathing ape. I got a few pieces out of a unit, very few, but put up an ad on Craigslist. Do you have any bathing ape apparel that you want to sell or trade or blah, blah, blah? And I found this chick who was messing around with this rapper. He cheated on her, and she sold me all his bathing ape stuff, 35 pieces for $500. I sold a belt buckle for $600. So by looking at trends and using your hustler mindset, because the thing is, you may buy storage auctions, you might be a picker, you have to look at other ways to get the merchandise you want. So if stuff is trending and it's hot, I can guarantee you there's someone out there that has it, that wants to sell it because they need money. I can guarantee you that, because it may have been given to them. This Christmas, there are a lot of people, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. You got a Mac, an iPad, something nice. Here it is, February. They're living in separate residences, and that person needs money because they went from 2 incomes to 1. And I guarantee you, float up the right ads, you'll be amazed at what people will sell to you right now. So you have to stay on top of the trends. Twitter makes it easy. Just go to Google. What's trending now? It's usually going to be pop stuff, but in the pop stuff, there may be accessories. It may be a certain shoe. It may be a certain bag. This is just some research that you can do. And you don't have to do it all day long. Like 30 minutes, an hour. Bam, what's trending? Because, it changes. But you do that frequently, like, 4 or 5 times a week. You would be up on top of some stuff. When I had my personal assistant, I learned so much about 25 and under trends. Stuff that I'm just not interested in, but there are people out there making money. There's this site, plunder.com. The kids love it. And I was like, oh. So you need to know that stuff, because you don't want it for yourself, but hey, if it makes money, it's worth knowing about. Know your neighborhood. I live in Atlanta, but before I moved, I used to live in a place called Eastlake, Atlanta. Eastlake has tons of craftsman bungalows and historic houses, and there's gentrification going on. It's been going on for many years. So you have a lot of families moving into these craftsman bungalows. And if you know anything about craftsman bungalows, people who are trying to keep that look with just a little bit of a twist want mission furniture, or they want period pieces. So that was my neighborhood. So when I went to a unit and I saw those pieces, I knew that I didn't even have to take it to the store, because there were several places in the neighborhood, little eatery stuff. You just put something up on the bulletin board. And I sold a lot of stuff that way. So know your neighborhood, know what your neighbors need or want, and you can deliver it to them. So that's a way to kind of really learn what's hot. And if you don't have like an assistant, you need to go ahead and find someone that you're cool with that has interests that are totally separate from yours. Forget about you. Find someone maybe 10 years, even 20 years younger than you, and just like take them to lunch and say, hey, what's going on in your life? What's hot in your world? They will tell you, because no one talks to them from our group. They were like, oh yeah, this is going on and this is going on. This is not something that, you should sell, but I knew about a year ago what a Molly was, because someone was like, what's this popping? Oh, that's a drug. from my assistant. I was just like, all kinds of stuff that goes on. So you need agents in certain areas to help you learn certain things, because if you're an adult, and I'm gonna say an adult 35 and up, there's just certain things you're not gonna know about because you don't hang out with those people, but they can make you money. This is something that I learned in the storage auction business. People don't want to pay for new quality right now. There's a lot of really nice furniture makers out there that make beautiful stuff. It's solid. It'll stand up for decades, but it's, 10,000, 15 grand for a dining room suit. And the average person's like, oh, hell no, I'm not trying to pay that, man. But if they can get that same quality, but the dining room set's 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, and they only have to pay 2,000, they'll do it. So you kind of have to know, and this is just a few tips for you, just a really quick, because I could take all day to go over it. But quality furniture has a certain look in the seams. Quality jackets are going to have a lining. The stitching is going to be tight. There's just little clues that you just flip open the jacket, look at the stitching on the shirt. Some of the stuff's handmade. It's just going to be different than the ratty stuff that we have today that's mass produced. Furniture, tongue and groove construction. It's just these little things that can lead to big dollars. It's just you have to learn. And this is where, being in 2013, you can virtually go on YouTube and put in anything that you want to know about. And that's the reason that you need a smartphone while you're out there with the highest 4G, if you can get it, internet speed, because you could be in Goodwill or you could be at a garage sale and you can look up something very quickly. If you got 3G or slow connection, it can be frustrating. Now, this isn't a way to help you learn about some stuff and not risk any money. You're going out to, say, some site to, an estate sale or storage auction. Get pictures of certain items, right? You may not know what they are. Just get pictures. If they look interesting or whatever, get the picture. Take that picture, go home, and look, upload it to Google Images, and sometimes Google will take you directly to it, or you may have to kind of finagle with it. But a lot of times, if you know what it is, you don't have to do all that. And just say, okay, just like act like you were going to buy it and put out what you would have to buy. Then when you get home and research, and it's like, okay, if I bought it at that price, would I have made money or would I have lost money? And then you can do that research in the safety of, experimentation, and just do this for 90 days with several items, and you will vastly increase your knowledge base. And some of the items, focus on things that people need first. Focus on things that people want second. Because I know the shows have said you can get that wonderful, rare, vintage thing that could be a lot of money. I personally found it challenging to sell the higher end vintage things, because I had this brooch, really nice brooch, 24 karat gold, had a provenance with it, came from a prominent family. I had to give that brooch to a friend to take to an auction in Massachusetts to really get decent money. Because everyone wanted to either give me scrap value, or the people that knew what it was worth, they were like, I don't know, $500. And I'm like, no, the scrap value on gold is more than that, player. But, through all that stuff, it sold for $9,200, $9,200, not $92,000. And, auction fees and all this other stuff. But that's what I have to do. And you have to search out different channels. Everything is not going to sell online. I got a question today about how to sell antiques on Craigslist. Vintage pieces do well on Craigslist. True antiques need to be in the proper antique channel. A booth in an antique mall, at an antique auction, an antique store. Certain people are looking, because the thing is, they want to look at it. They want to feel it. And if your antique item is surrounded by other antiques, that gives it more life and more credibility versus you got it in your garage next to your refrigerator and your four-wheeler. Just saying. Makes a difference. Now, after you've did the paper trading, you need to put some money at risk, or some people say, like, just jumping in. And it's really not jumping in, because You're going to create a list of things that you're looking for. You're not just going to be out there. You're just going to create a list. You're going to have a list because your research, you know some things that are trending. You have some things that you want to buy, and you kind of sort of know the value. But you're open to other stuff because this is the thing. Once you start building that database, you start getting what I call that little feeling. Some people call it the eye. Some people, it's the feeling because you're looking at some and you're just like, there's some value there. And I'm not saying get carried away, but you're going to start getting that little trigger feeling because it's going to come to you because as you build up this resource and you read these reference manuals, you've seen that item. You just don't realize it, but your mind's like, hey, fool, there's some value there. And as you do it more and more, you're going to get sharper and sharper. You're going to have to go out there and pet the bear. Seriously, he might bite your hand off, which means you lose. But if you win, he's going to kiss you, lick your face. And this is trial and error. And, if you really want to get deep in this, take art courses. It's going to sharpen up your ability to discern things. You won't look at a chest like some people are like, oh, it's a chest. Because I remember, I couldn't believe it. We're at an auction. Right there in the door, there was 2 chests. One was a mission chest, and the other one was a federal piece. And I'm just looking at there, and the chick's like, it's just 2 dressers, and we're bidding, right? And that was pretty much it, and some trash in the unit. And it was going to 150, right? And, I kind of backed off because I had guesstimated that federal chest was going to be between $1,600 and $2,000. I was off because there was a little damage. I only got $1,400 for it. And the other chest, the one that she really wanted, the mission piece, that sucker only went for $200. So after we got the $200, she dropped out. See, I'm telling you, learn your stuff. Don't worry about the next guy. Don't worry about the other people. Work on you and your stuff in your lane. Because I have enough experience to know that there are people who go to auctions, estate sales, and garage sales and will walk by something super valuable because they won't even take the time to stop and pull out their camera, their phone, and look it up. They're looking for that thing that they know. They're looking for that sure thing. And another trick at estate sales and garage sales, and I'm just throwing this in early, is if you can buy all the books. If you see a lot of art books, a bunch of art books, you get there first, get all of them. Art books do very well on Amazon because they're expensive as hell. But take all of the books and you're being a resource. Now, this is another thing. To help you with your research, you got to create a designated study program. And this is it. Pick an item, or one field of study. Devote 30 minutes to an hour a day, 7 days a week. If you do this consistently, you'll be an expert in that area within 6 months or sooner. An expert. You could speak intelligently with people who are in that field, and they will never know that you're a newbie. Because a lot of these people who are experts and with 30 years in the field, that experience wasn't like every day for 30 years. It was here and there. But by having a deliberate, compressed course, you can gain the same knowledge that they have from 30 years of buying here and there. Now, if this is a person who owns this business and they see it every day, that's a different animal. But that's not everyone. Most, experts, just have a long time in the field and they've seen a lot of stuff over the years. But if you go ahead and really focus, you can get a knowledge base that's comparable, not 100%, but I'm going to say 70, 80% within 6 months, which can help you out tremendously. This is the question I get all the time. Hey, Glendon, what exactly do I buy? Come on, man, what's the deal? And the reason I'm not giving you that is I don't want to hamper you. I feel if I did that, I would be doing you a terrible disservice because every year I was in the business, every variable that you can think of changed. It went up, it went down. And the thing is, what I learned was to live in a state of flux because in resale, that's what you are. Some things are hot, some things are in. But ultimately, because the internet has spread information to everyone, prices are compressed. They're just compressed on most things. You can't get certain things because there was information asymmetry. Essentially, antique dealers, car dealers, people in certain fields had way more information than the customer. Now, the customer may not have as much information. Sometimes they may have just as much or even more, but there's a certain parity. So it's really hard to just like beat someone over the head and get a huge profit on an item that is a commodity. And if they can go online and there's 28 pages of that item on Google, it's a commodity. And that's what it is. So really spend some time researching stuff. If you're going to be a reseller, like a friend of mine, he liked clay jugs. And if you don't know anything about clay jugs, depending on who made it, where it was made, what clay it was made of, some of those suckers can go for thousands. And he really spent a lot of time with clay jugs. He was a storage auction hound. He sold the same stuff I did, but he went, he traded, and he probably had an inventory of about $70,000 worth of clay jugs, McCoy pottery and stuff. And, he kind of built that. And when he got sick, he was able to sell that collection for $70,000 to help, pay bills. And if he had not made that, specialized knowledge on that thing, because literally that stuff saved his life. And he didn't, give his life to get that information. He just liked the stuff. And when he got better, he started again. So understand, you got to put in some time, you got to put in some sweat, and you have to put forth effort. So that's it in terms of keeping this in a more easy to digest format. All right, this is Glendon, and I will see you on the happy side.